If you want to make money in remote sales, you need to avoid this type of job at all costs. The type of job that I'm talking about is one where you are essentially the first salesperson to work for that business. First setter, first closer. If it's hybrid, doesn't matter. You never ever want to be the first person in. So often, these opportunities are presented in a way that seems exciting and it seems enticing. It feels like you're going to be part of building something big and building something new. But almost inevitably, you end up being asked basically to take on founder level risk for, at best, salesperson level compensation, and realistically probably less than sales level compensation. You're probably going to make less money than a salesperson should be making on a good role. There's really no upside to this gamble that you're making by starting on a role as the first person in, particularly if that company is really young. Now, yes, sometimes it can work out, but you're basically relying on that business having guessed first time, which is almost impossible to do, product market fit. And I mean, potentially, okay, maybe in some world they've invented the next best thing since sliced bread. But realistically, they probably haven't done that. And even if they have, they probably haven't developed the acquisition channels in order to monetize that properly, which means you as a salesperson are going to come into this and you're going to be wasting your time. Wasting your time is not something that you want to be doing. Wasting your time is what we call opportunity cost. Essentially, you could spend that time much, much better by working on a role where there is already established product market fit, where there is already setters and closers making money on the role out of leads that are coming from the same funnels that they want, that the business owner wants you to work as the new salesperson in there. That is a much, much better situation. You could put it this way: you should be looking for a role where you are asked to scale, not to create. It should never be the salesperson's job to create business out of thin air, especially if you're working commission only, because not only are you going to be wasting your time, you're also not going to be making any money whatsoever. And sometimes these opportunities look great on paper. I myself have fallen foul of this before, because I'm a sucker for the romance of it. I like businesses, I like interesting business models, I like the feeling of being part of building a business. But you've got to pay attention to that one key fact: there is no founder level upside for you as a closer, as a setter, on a role where you are the first person in. I'm working with somebody at the moment who got himself into a role which was probably the worst possible case scenario, at least one of the worst that I've seen, unfortunately. And to be fair to him, this was kind of missold to him as something different than what it ended up being. But what he's been tasked with doing is cold outreach, first of all, which, I mean, wow, you're already stacking the odds up against you by doing cold outreach. But cold outreach for a company that uses AI to build websites. It's very low ticket as well. And this guy was telling me about how he'd been trying to come up with different channels, different ways that he could reach these leads. He was telling me about how he was analyzing different regions that he could go to, the problems he was facing when he started speaking to some of these leads. He was telling me about the problems with the lead list that the business had given him, and this was why he wanted to go after his own lead list now. And I told him, there are so many things wrong with this. It's literally just wasting your time. You are literally, quite literally, going out there and trying to start a business for somebody else. You're trying to literally go and be a business development representative and find out where their market is and find out if they have product market fit for this product. And I said to him, at the point where you're selling AI generated websites to small trade businesses, you may as well just do that yourself. Right? No one starts that business model because they think they can make the best possible website. They start that model because they don't think they can make the best possible website unless they used AI tools to do it for them, because it's easy, right? Not because it's good, because it's easy, and they think that they can sell it to someone who essentially doesn't know how to do that yet. So at the point where you're going out into a market, you've been asked to go out into a market. You've been asked to go and find a market for a product by a business via cold calling, which is already one of the most soul-destroying, difficult channels to try and get business via. At this point, you're literally acting as a founder should be acting in this business, but you're not getting compensated for it. You're getting compensated your regular 10% commission, whatever it is. So every day that goes by that you are trying to develop a new market for this new product is a day that you could have spent reaching out to other businesses that already have established product market fit, that already have benchmark numbers hit by setters and closers on that offer. And you could be going for those roles where you might actually make some money out of it. It's a much better way to be spending your time. It's a completely different scenario if you were somebody who actually wants to start a business yourself. But if you wanted to do that, don't do it for 10% compensation. Do it for the whole pie, not a piece of the pie, as it were. And this might be an extreme example, right? As I said, that's probably as bad as it gets, honestly, as bad as I've seen it get. But even if you go up the ladder a few pegs, right, to any type of role where I interviewed for a role once, high ticket, about 30k, 10% commission, it's 3k per sale, it's a nice deal. But I asked the business owner, how many packages have you sold at 30k? Oh, one. Right, can I see a video recording of that close happening? No, unfortunately we didn't record that one. Here's a recording of me almost closing it. Right, so unfortunately, I'm not being asked to come in and sell a product that already exists. I'm being asked to come in and validate whether or not there's product market fit for this brand new offer that you're running. And that is just not something that a salesperson should be tasked with doing. You're fundamentally stacking the odds up against you in a market where you honestly just don't even have to do that. There's so much opportunity out there. There's so many opportunities out there that won't require you to go out into a new market and try and validate new offers or new businesses. Don't waste your time on these opportunities. Spend your time wisely looking for and reaching out to business owners where you're not going to have to do that, where there is already established product market fit, where there's already a real business, real benchmarks set by other closers and setters, and your job is to come in and help them to scale that business. Be one cog in the machine with a very specific task. Don't try and bear the weight of the whole business on your shoulders. And the reason for that is very simple. There are only certain variables that you can control as a setter, as a closer, as a salesperson. Right? There are a lot of variables that will affect how much money you can make, but you only have control over very, very few of those. Just let me name a few that you don't have control over. You don't have control over show rate if you're a closer. It's not a lot you can do. It's not your responsibility even to make sure people show up for the calls, but that directly affects how much money you can make. Quality of lead, you have no control over that as a closer. All of these things are going to affect your bottom line, and it's why you need to be looking for businesses that already have all of their shit handled before you try to come into them, you even bother coming into them and selling their products and services for them. Very important detail here. Do not be the first setter, the first closer on a new offer. If you're going to do that, understand that you are gambling massively. It's a massive gamble, and in my opinion, it is simply not worth the risk. Thanks so much for watching. Plenty more to come.